Hello, I am Greg Ballard from Greenville, South Carolina. I come to you with 25 years experience in the fire service, along with being a volunteer firefighter with one of the largest volunteer departments in the U.S. I have also built a career with Michelin North America. I have spent years ensuring that our manufacturing facilities, corporate facilities, and airplane hangars meet regional and local fire codes. Today, I want to speak to you about the many components of what fire protection looks like within our community. Let's begin with the 3 E's of fire prevention. Those are education, enforcement, and engineering. These components create a comprehensive approach to fire prevention. These 3 principles educate us about the fire hazards through awareness, compliance, and design concepts that help prevent the start and spread of fire. Education involves raising public awareness about fire safety practices, common causes of fires, and how to respond during emergencies. We provide education about the risk of fires by providing public awareness campaigns, school programs, and community workshops. Enforcement is conducted by ensuring compliance with fire codes through inspections. Enforcement ensuring buildings meet fire safety standards and that potential hazards are addressed. Engineering begins with the design process and continues through the construction of buildings with fire-resistant materials and installing fire alarms and sprinkler systems. Engineering fire-safe construction helps minimize fire risk and will prevent the spread of fire. By utilizing education, enforcement, and engineering, fire departments, communities, and individuals can work together to reduce fire-related risk and create safer environments. Code for our businesses is enforced by our local authority having jurisdiction. The Sacramento Fire Department spends a lot of its time inspecting these businesses every year to ensure that buildings are maintained in a manner that mitigates the risk of fire to its inhabitants. At least once a year, an inspector or two will come and walk through our buildings. These inspections will include looking at fire protection systems, including the risers, sprinklers, and alarms. The inspector will also observe egress routes and pay close attention to storage to ensure that in the event of a fire, everyone inside the building can exit the building without obstructions. Once completed, the findings identified are reviewed with us, the owners of the building, so that we clearly understand any risk. Typically, it is possible for us to correct any findings immediately, but if not, we will create an action plan to ensure that anything left on the list of observations is taken care of promptly. Once the time frame is agreed to, the owner and inspector will sign off on the document and agree to a re-inspection date based on the time allotted for the corrections that are needed. If a specific code is not met in the right amount of time and the AHJ finds it necessary to report the finding, the inspector will report the finding to the Greenville County Building Safety Department. This department is responsible for enforcing building codes and will cite an owner while also providing the necessary knowledge of requirements to get the risk corrected and codes met to satisfaction. When our company makes a decision to build, expand, or renovate, the belief in safety and fire protection begins with the design process. These designs are reviewed with fire protection engineering firms that will ensure the latest codes and recommendations are applied from the beginning of our project. This will often require that a pump curve test be conducted on the site of the project if a system is already in place. Once the designs are created, they are reviewed with the local authority having jurisdiction, along with periodic inspections along the way to ensure that everything is being built by the design. Once completed, the county administration, local fire marshal, and owner of the building will complete a final inspection to ensure all codes are met. It is at this time that the county will then sign and release the right for the building to be occupied. Although there are no local organizations that determine the fire resistance of building materials in the local Greenville area, local code enforcement does ensure that the materials that are being used meet the requirements of the written codes. Testing by organizations including the American Society for Testing of Materials, along with Underwriters Laboratories, ensures that the building materials being used meet the rating for which they are intended and report these results in a publication for reference. These results also mean that qualifying materials are allowed to be stamped with their approval for easy identification during the inspection process. The test that Greenville County Building Safety Department relies on often are the ASTM E119 and the ASTM E84, also known as the Steiner Tunnel test. The E119 test focuses on the fire resistance of materials utilized in building construction, and results are expressed in the number of hours they were able to maintain structural integrity, while the E84 test focuses on surface building characteristics to better understand the spread of flames and smoke once a fire starts, and it is given an A, B, or C rating based on their performance. Fire tests conducted by the ASTM and UL provide ratings that will help an inspector determine the type of storage or hazardous material that a room or building may contain. By understanding these ratings, an inspector can enforce codes to ensure that storage of materials does not exceed safe limits by the building construction used. Commonly identified characteristics of unsafe structures found in Greenville, South Carolina include inadequate fire-resistant materials used for storage of hazardous and flammable materials. These buildings may have met the required codes when built, but due to change in what is being stored on the premises, the building is no longer meeting these requirements and are at risk of quickly spreading a fire if one was to occur. Another common finding by inspectors in our area is blocked egress routes. Obstructions, including furniture and storage, are often the culprit of this violation. It is also identified that exit routes do not provide adequate lighting to ensure a safe exit of the building in the event of power loss. In Greenville, South Carolina, the building construction type that poses the highest risk for conflagration and fire spread is type 5 construction that you see being utilized for neighborhoods and townhomes. This type of construction is made up of primarily wood construction and susceptible to easy ignition and rapid spread of fire. Since this is usually lightweight construction, the failure of the roof and support structure is highly likely and poses a great risk to the occupants and responding firefighters. Once the fire begins, wood construction promotes the conditions for fire and will allow flames to travel to surrounding structures, creating devastating results if not suppressed quickly. Plan reviews and structural control is a method of fire prevention that can help mitigate risk of fire and reduce the loss caused by fire. Ensuring that homes and businesses are built to meet the specific codes and standards based on their designs and use will ensure that maximum amount of protection is utilized. It is also important to consider that there are many historic homes that may have been outdated with newer fire protection regulations. Structural control can help highlight vulnerabilities for fire in these homes to ensure that they exist in the future and is a highlighted feature of our community. By combining effective plan reviews with appropriate structural control measures, the fire safety of structures in the upstate of South Carolina can be significantly improved, leading to a safer environment for residents and first responders. This aligns with the goal of making Greenville a safer place to call home.